appreciate that, and appreciate everybody joining us today. Just talk a little about the this recruiting class. Obviously, we're very excited. Signing day is always a special day. It's a little anticlimactic in this day and age with the way things have changed in recruiting. I'll address that in a second, but I just want to backtrack 1 second and go back to Monday's comments. I'm always interested. I do look at there's a site, Football Scoop. So I'm always interested in how things get filtered as you go to I guess you call that a national publication. But just for the record, I said I'd made 3 phone calls. Never said I talked to 3 candidates. 3 phone calls regarding this whole process. And then the other thing, just for clarification, it sounds like there's some speculation. I was not referencing anybody that's been a head coach in the Big Ten. I was actually referencing a coordinator that's come into our conference sometime in the last decade. And my point was this: there's at least there's reported to be there was a quote on Einstein's office, and he had an office at Princeton that said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. And that was kind of my point. The person I'm thinking about specifically had a lot of passing yards on his resume, pretty well known nationally, but you dig a little deeper, you look at his, what the win total was, where he's been. And I think that is an important statistic, most important one there is. So that's the reference I was trying to make, but it was not in reference to anybody that's been a sitting head coach in the Big Ten. Just wanted to clarify that. So anyway, so let's get on to business. I just want to talk briefly about the recruits. Turn it over to Tyler, who knows all the, all the details on each and every one of the guys that we have signed. And right now we have 20 that are signed. One will sign this afternoon when his mom's able to free up from work and get that done. So just, really pleased about the class. As I suggested, the process has changed immensely in the last several years, most namely when they started the official visits in the springtime through June. So that's really caused a shift. So at least for us, historically, the majority of our class has been pretty well settled by July, I would say. Tara can give the exact details, but typically there's not a lot of drama. The guys that do decide on us typically stay with us, and we stay with them. So, hopefully it's a good mutual fit. But as much as the process has changed, I think what we consider to be important really hasn't changed. Obviously, every prospect, we're looking for a degree of athleticism at their position. We may not be as picky on heights or body weights some places, but we're looking for a certain level of athleticism. Obviously, the competitive nature of that player is really important to us. How aggressive do they play? How much do they look like they enjoy it and really enjoy being out there? How much do they enjoy competing? Those things are important to us. I've never been around a good player that didn't have a high level of pride, and with that, a high level of just a really strong work ethic. Because it's hard to do anything and be good at anything. It's difficult to do, if you don't have those traits. So I think those are things that we also try to uncover, look for that type of deal. And then I think the other thing that's really tough for, important for a prospect, any player, certainly the guys in our program and most of the guys that were honored at our banquet a couple of weeks ago, the guys that were with you on Monday, are examples of this. You got to have a level of patience too, and realize that, if you got a growth mindset, you're going to keep getting better. So your best football is always ahead of you. And sometimes you may be behind another player that's pretty good too. So you just keep working at it. Jay Higgins is a great example. Played behind Jack Campbell last year. But when he did have a chance to play, he played extraordinarily well. And I think we were all confident he'd play well this year. None of us probably could have expected the kind of numbers that he's put out. So he certainly exceeded everybody's expectations there. But it's really not a surprise, because if you're around Jay day to day, you just understand how he operates. And, the good things that have come his way are things that he's earned on his own. Hopefully we give him good structure, but the players are the ones that put the work into it. So, those are the things we're trying to look for. We still prefer to build our team, and things have changed in the world also this way, but prefer to build our team through our high school recruiting. Certainly, we're going to try to bolster our roster through the transfer portal. I think it only makes sense. It was really good to us last year and years forward. Hopefully, it will be as well. And we may be active a little bit in the new year in that department. But as most of you know, we really haven't had a lot of roster turnover, so it's not like we got a lot of room right now. But we'll keep an eye out and be mindful there and do whatever we can moving forward. So, just in rough terms, I know Tyler will go through this, but basically a third of our signees are from our state, another third from the surrounding states, and then two guys from, one from Ohio, one from Indiana, a couple states over, and then in the outlying areas, you got Texas, Arizona, Florida represented, and even Australia. LeVar made the trip over there last week, and we feel really good about that as well. So that hasn't changed a great deal. Every guy's a captain. Every guy's a multi-sport athlete. Some guys more than multi. A couple guys are three and two or four actually sport athletes. So those things remain important to us as well. And just overall feel really good about the class. Appreciate everybody's hard work, everybody on campus, not just in the department, but faculty members, everybody that helps make the cause well. Our fans add a lot to it. When players come to games here, they're extremely impressed being in Kinnick and seeing the fan support that we receive. So that's important for us. And it's really just a team effort, quite frankly. So we're really appreciative of that, most appreciative of the recruits and their families, just demonstrating their confidence in us and our program. So excited to get them here whenever that time may be. And in the meantime, we'll just keep pushing forward here, but I'll throw it out for questions and see what we can do.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Like Coach said, we'll take a handful of questions before we get to Tyler Barnes. First question, Coach, comes from Chad Leistico from the Des Moines Register. Chad?
Hey there. We didn't get all the questions in probably the other day we wanted to. So how's the health of the offensive line? Look like on the depth chart, which I know you love to talk about, Logan Jones was not on there. Is he out for the game? Jennings Dunker, other guys like that.
Yeah, I think I did that depth chart, feels like 8 weeks ago, but probably 2 or 3. We're back practicing right now, and knock on wood, right now everybody's healthy. Everybody's good to go. Logan's doing well. Dunk's doing good. So, yeah, right now, good. So far, so good.
Okay, next question, Tom Kakert, Hawkeye Report.
Hey, Kirk. I know neither of us are math majors, but looking at your scholarship numbers, it's pretty tight, and you've got guys that could potentially come back for the COVID year. How are you guys kind of managing and massaging this whole situation right now?
Yeah, probably like everybody else in the country, that's always an issue. I think we have a fairly healthy projection on what's going to happen both ways. So we feel pretty comfortable about where we're at. And but yeah, that's an issue for everybody. It's much talked about in Division I right now. Roster management's gotten very tricky with the portal, transfers in, transfers out, all those kinds of things. And then typically every year you have some attrition from January to August. Can't remember a year where that wasn't true. And we probably have a medical or two, medical case or two that are being reviewed right now on top of that. So, yeah, it's kind of like tickets during the week. I always tell Rita, it'll work out. Don't worry about it. It usually does, but we're still pretty cautious about how we operate that way.
Elliot Clough, Rivals.com.
Hey, good afternoon, Kirk. Appreciate you taking some time today. One guy that I know has gotten a lot of positive feedback on social media and stuff like that based on his film is Gavin Hoffman. I know you were there for his in-home visit. Can you just tell me what exactly stuck out to you during his recruitment about him and what why you wanted to make him a Hawkeye, I guess?
I think first and foremost is probably his attitude. He's just a very eager, anxious guy. He's a good football player, good athlete, football, basketball. But his attitude, he loves the game. He's got a personality, and not that that's everything, certainly, but because every player is different. Josie Jewell would just look at you and then look through you. There weren't a lot of smiles with Josie, that's for sure. So, not one size fits all, but I think Gavin's got real enthusiasm for the game. He's got a good skill set. We think great growth potential. And so he has a lot of the characteristics of guys that have come here pretty much unheralded. And I'm not saying he's unheralded. That's not the case. But the guys that have really grown and developed in our system. And we think he checks a lot of those boxes. He's a little bit more heavily recruited than some of the guys, maybe that, I'm referencing that way, but yeah, we just liked everything about him.
John Steppe, the Gazette.
Hi, Kirk. Two questions. First one with the offensive guys. What was kind of your message these last few months to them with not having an OC yet in place? And then totally unrelated, what kind of stood out to you about these three linebackers, three in-state guys that didn't seem to have the highest ratings, but look pretty talented?
Yeah, the football question, I'll handle that first. Brian's been here throughout this entire period, shows up every day, totally committed to the program. He's a former player. He's got a lot of years associated with the program. So there's no question. I don't ask him daily, what's his motivation, but I don't want to speak for other people either, but I'm pretty sure he's doing it because he's part of this program, cares deeply about the people involved, and particularly our players, so it's a non-issue. We're just proceeding on a daily basis, and the encouragement we give them right now is the same as it was in August. Let's just focus on getting better every day. We're getting a little healthier where that's possible, and seeing a lot of improvement from a lot of players, and that's encouraging. That's one of the great things about December. And then, the three linebackers, it feels like we've been recruiting them, I swear, for like 4 years. Basically, I don't think anybody's further than 60 miles from here. Can't tell you how many times they've been on campus for practices, spring practice. This past weekend, they were all here. And I felt like a year ago, they could have just slid right into our room and fit in beautifully with the guys that we have. So just like their attitudes, they all have different skill sets, and they all have different personalities, but they're just all, I think, very committed to being good football players. I think them, being here on the field a couple of years ago and watching guys like Campbell, watching guys like Benson work. Now they get to see Higgins and Nick Jackson. And I just think they felt like the mesh was perfect. We certainly felt that way. And, just very high on all three of them. Just really like their attitude, their seriousness. Like they're all tough, competitive guys. And then, the irony is, and, good luck this happening again. But like I said, you got three guys in a 60-mile radius. So that certainly helps. I wish we had about 50 prospects within a 60-mile radius. It'd be really good.
Okay, Coach, two more questions. First, we'll start with Adam Jacoby, Rivals.com.
Coach, I appreciate your time. You mentioned that this is sort of a changing recruiting landscape, but you look at this class, and with the exception of the punter that you got a couple days ago, it was essentially complete by the middle of summer. Is that something you expected to have happen once you started to get the recruits, and then once they were pretty much on board? Did you think it was going to be as drama-free getting to here as it has been?
Good question. It's kind of funny because my exposure to our outside worlds when I come to work or leave, it's either the college station or the NFL station. This morning I had the college station on, heard about all the drama and stuff going on and guys waffling. I guess we just don't live in that world. We really haven't had much of that for quite some time. And typically, it doesn't make it right or wrong, but it's just it seems like the way we recruit, we end up uncovering guys that we feel good about, and then typically if they commit, and we ask them, don't commit if you really don't mean it. And again, there's exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, when guys do commit and the parents are involved and everybody's on board, you don't have to ride that roller coaster. We really haven't done much of that. And I'm not saying that's foreshadowing of a bad college career, but I don't mind telling you, it would be a concern for me, not a deal breaker, but a concern. If any of our coaches come in and start talking about a guy who's been in 3 high schools in 3 years, those kinds of things are just things you need to get answers for, I think, because the best way to predict the future still is to understand the past a little bit. Sometimes there are very valid reasons why things happen, and I'm thinking of an example a couple of years back. But if there's not a good reason and you're seeing some things that maybe alert you, chances are they're not going to work well here, because our goal is to get our guys here. Our number one program goal still is for our guys to graduate. Had a bunch of guys do it last Saturday. A bunch of guys did it last May, and we'll have a bunch more here in the May term. So the guys that end up in the program, they typically graduate, and that's our number one program goal. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I know this: if you don't stay at Iowa, you can't graduate from Iowa. So, it is important to us that we're, we try to be very transparent, make sure they get a good picture of what it's going to be like when they get here. And so there are no surprises, and then hopefully they get the work ethic that it takes to stay in the program and become a really good football player.
Okay, Coach, last question for you. Scott Docterman, The Athletic.
Kirk, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Cody Fox, and also kind of alongside those three other linebackers. They've all committed a year and a half ago. And so just to keep them that in the fold, how did you do it? And then also with Cody Fox, are you surprised 3 years it seems like he's been committed to you, not one waiver?
Yeah, that's, Scott, I mean, that's scary. I got to tell you, when you offer guys that young and, they commit to you, it's like, oh boy, hope we're right. And that, everything that we've learned about Cody and seen him do since that time is what, what we hoped we were going to see. But, the rest of that story too is that, we've known his family for quite some time. His older brother was here, just graduated. So a year ago graduated, and, did a great job in our program. So, we knew the family, think we knew we were getting there. Cody had been to camp a couple of times, just impressed the heck out of us. Really, really competitive guy, tough guy. And we've also had some luck in that high school. It's been really good to us too, historically. So, we were, again, confident that, we had a pretty good idea what we're getting. A little bit like Aaron Graves, prior to that, who committed at a really young age. But Aaron's such an exceptional young guy. And then the same thing to linebackers again. I don't think any of those guys, I don't want to speak for any of them, but I don't think they ever gave it a thought about, a different school or any of that kind of stuff. It was pretty good mesh right from the start. And again, we don't encourage guys to commit unless they really mean it and they're sure, and the parents have to be sure too. And, all four of those young guys have been steady, as have their families. So I appreciate that. That's how you try to build a program. You got to have some really good cornerstones, some, build a foundation with guys. And it was that way in the 80s too. You build a foundation, I think, with in-state players that really understand the program. They have a great appreciation for the history of the program. And then they help educate, guys that maybe aren't quite as familiar as they come in. And it's worked out pretty well for us over time.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your signing class today, and safe travels down to Orlando.
Appreciate it. We'll let Tower take it from here. Thank you.
You got it.